The soft revolution, finding strength in vulnerability. Have you ever noticed how we glorify the struggle? We celebrate the person who powers through obstacles, who never shows weakness, who keeps a stiff upper lip no matter what life throws at them. But what if I told you that the real power, the true strength we've been searching for, lies in the exact opposite direction? I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Chanelle Roberts for the Soft Girl Era podcast. If you haven't encountered Chanelle's work, you're missing something truly revolutionary. She has dedicated her life to empowering Black women to embrace their authentic selves, creating ripples, no, waves of transformation across professional spaces where hardness was once the only acceptable currency. Her insights don't just challenge our conventional wisdom about strength and success, they completely upend it, offering us a new paradigm that feels both radical and deeply intuitive. The conversation with Chanelle left me with three profound truths that I simply cannot keep to myself. They've been reverberating in my mind, changing how I move through the world. And today, I want them to change how you move through yours. First, your journey is uniquely yours, and every obstacle is an opportunity to find a new path. Second, softness and vulnerability are not weaknesses, they are superpowers that enable authentic leadership and genuine innovation. And third, community, mentorship, and self care aren't luxuries, they're essential foundations for lasting success. These might sound like simple platitudes, the kind you'd find on an inspirational coffee mug, but I promise you, they contain transformative power. They're not just about changing how you work, they're about revolutionizing how you live. Let's start with this idea that your journey is uniquely yours. We're taught from an early age that success looks a certain way: get good grades, go to college, climb the corporate ladder, retire with a nice pension. It's a well worn path. And for some people, it works beautifully. But what happens when you encounter a roadblock? What happens when the path that works for everyone else feels like it's actively working against you? Too often, we see that roadblock as a sign of personal failure. We think everyone else managed to get past this point. What's wrong with me? We internalize the obstacle, making it about our inadequacy rather than recognizing it as simply part of our unique journey. But here's what Chanel helped me understand with crystal clarity: nothing is wrong with you. That roadblock isn't a dead end. It's a directional sign pointing you toward your authentic path. Consider the remarkable story of Black women entrepreneurs across America who face systemic barriers in traditional business spaces, limited access to capital, underrepresentation in mainstream entrepreneurship, and countless other obstacles stood in their way like immovable mountains. But instead of giving up, they created alternate routes. They harnessed community networks, embraced collective action, and validated each other when the world wouldn't. The result? Black women have become the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country, with their ventures often focused on reinvesting in their communities. They didn't succeed despite the roadblocks. They succeeded because the roadblocks forced them to innovate, to create new paths that were ultimately more aligned with their values and vision. The very obstacles that seemed designed to stop them became the catalyst for their most meaningful work. This isn't just inspiring, it's instructive. When you hit a wall, pause, breathe, look around. There's always another way forward, even if it's not the way you originally planned. Sometimes, especially if it's not the way you planned. Now, let's talk about this radical idea that softness and vulnerability are actually strengths, not just strengths, but superpowers. We live in a culture that equates toughness with effectiveness, especially for women and particularly for Black women. There's enormous pressure to be strong, unflappable, to never show weakness. The strong Black woman trope isn't just a stereotype, it's a survival mechanism in a world that often feels hostile. But what if that very softness we've been taught to hide is actually our greatest source of power? Let me share a story that transformed my understanding of this principle. A Black woman producer at ESPN spent years suppressing her authentic self to fit into the dominant workplace culture. She hid her accent, changed her hairstyle, and muted her natural enthusiasm, fearing rejection or misunderstanding. Every day was an exhausting performance, a constant code switching that drained her creative energy and dimmed her natural brilliance. Then something remarkable happened. A new manager encouraged her to bring her full self to work, not just allowed it, actively encouraged it. Slowly, cautiously, she began to embrace her true identity, testing the waters with small expressions of authenticity. The results weren't just positive, they were transformative. Not only did her personal well being improve dramatically, but her creative output soared to heights she'd never imagined possible. The stories she pitched from her unique perspective, stories that would have remained buried under her previous self censorship, became some of the network's most compelling content. She became a leading creative voice, with her work celebrated precisely because of its authenticity and impact, not in spite of it. This shift demonstrated something powerful. Teams that embrace vulnerability and emotional intelligence aren't just nicer places to work, they're more innovative and resilient. Her softness, her willingness to be fully herself, wasn't a liability. It was her greatest asset, her unique contribution, her superpower. And think about that for a moment. What parts of yourself have you been hiding? What unique perspectives and talents have you been suppressing because they don't fit the conventional mold of professional or strong? Those very qualities might be the source of your greatest contributions to the world. This brings me to the third insight from my conversation with Chanelle: the essential role of community, mentorship, and self care in creating lasting success. We love the myth of the self made person, the lone genius who, through sheer force of will, creates something extraordinary. But that's rarely, if ever, how real success happens. That myth doesn't just distort reality, it actively harms us by making us believe that needing others is a sign of weakness. The work of Ife Turner powerfully illustrates this truth. Turner challenges the idea that Black leadership must always be tough and unyielding. After years of burnout and emotional suppression that took a devastating toll on her health and relationships, she developed a new model of leadership rooted in self care and community. Turner's approach prioritizes well being, acknowledges structural barriers, and embraces authenticity as a foundation for sustainable leadership. The leaders who follow this model don't just survive, they thrive, building more inclusive, innovative, and resilient organizations that outperform their more traditional counterparts. This isn't just feel good advice, it's practical wisdom backed by real world results. When we try to do everything alone, when we neglect our well being in pursuit of success, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Not just personal failure, but collective failure. Because burned out, isolated people simply cannot create the kind of sustainable change our world so desperately needs. So, what does this mean for you? How do you apply these insights to your own life and work? First, embrace your journey with compassion and determination. When you encounter obstacles, pause, reflect, and look for alternate routes instead of giving up. The road less traveled might be the one that leads to your greatest fulfillment. Trust that detours are not delays, they're essential parts of your unique path. Second, bring your full, authentic self to everything you do. Your unique perspective, your emotional intelligence, your capacity for empathy and connection. These aren't weaknesses to be hidden. They're strengths to be celebrated, cultivated, and shared generously with the world. And finally, lean into community. Reach out for support when you need it. Offer support when others need it. Prioritize your well being not as an indulgence, but as an essential foundation for everything else you hope to accomplish. I'm reminded of something Chanelle said during our interview that struck me deeply. The soft revolution isn't about becoming less, it's about becoming more, more authentic, more connected, more whole. This isn't about lowering your standards or abandoning your ambitions. It's about pursuing those ambitions in a way that honors your humanity and the humanity of those around you. So today, I challenge you to join this soft revolution. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more prepared, but right now in this moment. Start by asking yourself, what would change if I embraced my unique path instead of fighting it? What would be possible if I brought my full, authentic self to my work? Who could I reach out to for support? And who might need my support in return? The world doesn't need more people who are hardened, exhausted, and disconnected from themselves. It needs people who are authentic, vulnerable, and deeply connected to themselves and to others. It needs you in all your messy, glorious, soft humanity. Because when we have the courage to be soft in a hard world, we don't just transform our own lives, we create the conditions for everyone around us to do the same. We build workplaces where innovation flourishes because people feel safe to take risks. We create communities where mutual support replaces competition. We forge relationships based on genuine connection rather than transaction. This is your invitation to stop forcing yourself down paths that weren't meant for you, to stop hiding the very qualities that make you unique, to stop trying to do it all alone. The soft revolution is waiting for you. And I promise you, on the other side of that vulnerability lies a strength you've never imagined possible, a strength that doesn't deplete you, but sustains you, a strength that doesn't isolate you, but connects you, a strength that doesn't require you to be less, but empowers you to become more, more authentic, more connected, more whole. The world is waiting for that version of you. We need that version of you. So take a deep breath, embrace your softness, and step into your power. The revolution has already begun. Will you join us?